We live in a twilight world and there are no friends at dusk. You might want to get yourselves like a coffee or something for this one, because I think this is going to be a long recording. And yeah, it's going to be quite a slow paced one. I'm not going to rush this recording like I do with the other ones, you know. I'm going to be rambling on for quite some time. So today is the 19th of July 2022, and right now there is a lot of illusion warfare going on in my hometown of London. And, you know, just looking at it on the surface, it's got, you know, illusion warfare written all over it. So for those of you that don't know, this little term I've created called illusion warfare, it's basically, you know, creating the illusion so that people will then manifest a real human response. So, of course, what I'm most famous for is the Battle of Kiev, where they created the illusion of an invading Russian army. And of course, for this illusion to work, they need to implement a 4D experience. So, for example, they had to play air raid sirens, they had to bombard the TV screens and the smart devices with warnings and scary images. They sent out the text messages warning that, you know, incoming fire was happening. You see, they can't merely just say it, you know. They have to use real life physical objects. For a 4D experience to be effective, you have to stimulate, you know, the senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and so on. So, of course, with something like a war, the most important prop of all is a tank rolling around. So there you have it. Air raid sirens, text messages, and a tank rolling around the street. Then, of course, this manifests a real human response. The illusion has worked. Men go and sign up to their local kind of like military territorial defense unit, and of course the women, rightly so, on the off chance it might be real, they pack their bags, get their children, and they go running away from the city. And then of course the illusion has become a real human response. It's been manifested into reality. And now you've got all these men dressed up in uniforms and you put guns in their hands. Guess what? You've now turned the city into a war zone, and they themselves are now blowing up their own bridges. And everything that was being projected onto them, which they were trying to avoid, they then created themselves. Anyway, you get the idea. Most of you know me, know my work, and I do a lot of this kind of work. And, you know, right now, here in the UK, they've been going hard. The hysteria and propaganda trying to push the climate change has been like insane the past couple of days, this last week. And they're really trying to weaponize hot weather. Now, I was shocked that they, of all the people in the world to try and push this on, they chose English people. I mean, the Illuminati really has lost their touch. And in case there's anyone out there that lives under a rock, English people are notorious for going out to hot countries and being in hot places, okay? The old Indian proverb is only mad dogs and Englishmen go out into the midday sun. So for them to try and push that on English people was, I was like, whoa, this is going to backfire. And it did. Even the NPCs and the normies were like laughing their tits off at this idea of trying to scare English people with hot weather. Now, and that's great to see. It's great to see a kind of realization from the NPCs and normies, or what I call the Westworld robots, in the situation, and a little bit of a fight back from them. Great to see. But here's the problem: because it isn't taking hold, they've had to dial it up a notch, and they've had to bring in the 4D experience. And now, of course, there are fires appearing everywhere across London, and apparently in the UK there's quite a few fires going on. To convince people it's real, they've got to bring it into real life, right? Same with the older scamdemic. Now, I've got to be careful with my words here because this video will get taken down straight away. But with the scamdemic, right, there was no actual real... I won't say the word. There was no actual deadly thing, was there? But to bring it into manifestation, to make it a real thing, they needed the 4D experience. That's why they had you queuing outside shops. That's why I had stickers on the floor, barriers everywhere. You had to wear a mask. They had to spray disinfectant everywhere so you could smell the disinfectant. So it didn't matter there wasn't a deadly thing, because everyone was experiencing it via 4D sensory overload. And of course, with the fires of London, you've got the same thing. People are going to taste that smoke in their lungs. They're going to smell the burning in the air. A lot of these fires have appeared next to the M25, which is one of the busiest motorways in the world, right? So the amount of people that are going to now drive past a fire in their car, and they're going to feel that heat on their skin. This is classic illusion warfare. And of course, fire engines everywhere, bright blue flashing lights, loud sirens, men in uniform running around. You're creating the 4D experience. Brilliant stuff, really. I was debating going down there and doing an illusion warfare report, and then, I don't know, it's quite late in the afternoon. I don't think I could be bothered. Who knows, tomorrow I might wake up with a different attitude, and I guess I've got to keep my eye on the news, which I don't really like doing, to see how it's going down. But yeah, this is it. Now, are they real, genuine fires? Of course not. It's arson. It's arson all over. I would probably say the same guys that were running around strategically blowing up bits of Ukraine are probably the same guys running around setting fire to strategic places in London. Now, I guarantee you the places that are going to get burnt are kind of irrelevant in their existence. I know that's hard. I know some people might think that's quite a harsh thing to say, but the Ghost Army doesn't give a fuck about relocating a few people and burning down a few houses if it pushes the climate change agenda, But I guarantee you, nothing of importance will get burnt down. Just like with the illusion of war in Kiev, if it was a real war, the train stations and the train lines would have been destroyed straight away. But they didn't, because there was no real war. It was only the illusion of war. And of course, the trains were working and food was still coming in, okay? So interesting times we're living in, right? Just incredible times, man. So as I was saying, the No Nation Ghost Army who work for the secret unknowns are probably running around setting fire to things, yes. Again, with fire, how are you going to, it's up to the person that investigates it to give us the answer about how it started. And of course, the people investigating these kind of things are going to be part of the club, and they're going to try and say it's climate change, blah, 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 blah. And it's just going to be ridiculous. I'm right now in the southwest of England. It is not that hot, guys. It is not that hot. I grew up in London, and I know that London, obviously, because it's being a city, all the underground cables, the underground railway systems, the amount of tarmac per square mile is, above average. So obviously it traps a lot of heat. And of course the pollution as well. Being a more built up area, it's obviously going to attract a lot more heat and trap it in and so on, blah, blah, blah. So obviously it'd be a lot more humid in London right now, but it ain't that bad. The media are going wild with the propaganda. Funnily enough, a lot like, I'm going to constantly keep drawing my comparisons with the scamdemic and with the Battle of Kiev. So yeah, like with the Battle of Kiev, while on one hand the media was trying to make out it was the Battle of Stalingrad was happening, they also had cameras set up showing you the whole city that was nothing going on. Now this is obviously done on purpose. This is their way of trying to avoid karmic debt. And they did the same with the scamdemic. Although they were pumping through images of, ambulances and, red bar charts and red pie charts and all these scary numbers and digits, and they would keep showing you the insides of a ICU, intensive care unit. Really, really ramping up the imagery coming through the smart devices. The whole time they always told you it was a 99% survival rate. So in one way, they were very, very honest with us about what it really was. And, it's kind of a thing, like more for you if you just believe images on the screen. Now, the images I've seen of London on fire, they don't look legit to me. They look very, what I would say, enhanced. Digital fire, all it takes is a click of a button to add digital flames, really good, realistic looking flames to any bit of footage. You can add flames, you can really crank up the tone, you can add smoke. Not to say that the fires aren't real. I'm based on my experience of illusion warfare, yes, there are definitely fires happening. You have to do this. Same like with Ukraine, like you've got to blow up buildings, you've got to drive tanks around. You've got to make the illusion seem real, you've got to bring in props, physical objects. People really need to experience it for it to be real. Like if a magician just came out on stage and said, "Oh, I've cut a woman in half," it wouldn't be very good, right? The magician actually has to bring out a box. He actually has to put a woman in there. He has to actually make that soaring noise. Incredible stuff, man. Incredible stuff, really. So, yeah. I'm so blessed and thankful to be living in this time, man. It's just one psyop after another, and I fucking enjoy. Yeah, I'm having fun in this, man. I'm a bit of a chaos junkie, and I kind of enjoy it. I enjoy it for many reasons. Like I don't want to live in a utopia where everything's perfect. I'd go fucking insane with that. I'd be the one going around burning shit. And every morning I wake up and I just think, I kind of like look forward to whatever psyop's going to be thrown at us. And the fact that I just can see past it and see through it, And synchronicity alert, I did a video earlier on talking about tanks and how tanks are a big part of fooling the masses into thinking that, there's really a war happening, right? And I was talking about how useless tanks are and how all you got to do is throw a Molotov cocktail in there and set the thing on fire, or mainly set the insides on fire, and you can burn the crew out. And 1 hour later, there's talk of fire, and London burning and stuff. It's just weird, I'm there talking about fire, and next thing you know, the biggest story going on right now is the fires of London. Synchronicities, man, they're off the chart at the moment. Another important thing to kind of like also look at is fires in London have been a common reoccurring story throughout our timeline. Of course, there's a Great Fire of London, and there's been quite a few fires of London, and it seems to be like our thing. And of course, in World War II, London experienced the Blitz, and that, of course, you know, if you look at the documentaries and the images, was nothing but houses burning and stuff. But weirdly enough, if you speak to anyone that grew up in that time, it wasn't actually that bad, and people just got on with their lives, and it's very actually rare to see anything like that. This is a great thing about when they make documentaries, is they can compress all the action into a 30-minute or 1 hour documentary, and it just makes something look so much more intense than it is. You know, how long did the Blitz go on for? How long did the bombing of London go on for? 4 years, was it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but you're going to compress 4 years of bombing into a 30-minute documentary. And let's be honest, the actual amount of footage you're going to see actually is only about 10 minutes worth of footage. You know, spread that 10 minutes out over 4 years, and it ain't that bad, guys. It ain't that bad. Sensationalism by the media, you know, this is what they do. They make a mountain out of a molehill. So yeah. Fire was quite important over in Ukraine as well. Like in the early days of the so-called war, there was a lot of oil refineries were being apparently hit by missiles. Now, whether they were or weren't hit by missiles is irrelevant, but an oil refinery burning is great when it comes to illusion warfare, right? Because everyone's going to now have to participate in that situation, everyone in the local populace, right? And even people that live quite far away is going to see the big stack of smoke going up into the atmosphere. So in that way, it ticks the visual aspect, right? Because people are going to see it far and wide. People from many, many towns away, many villages away will be able to see that smoke and be like, oh shit, look, the war's getting closer. And then they'll take pictures, they'll make TikToks, and they, of course, will then participate in the propaganda and spread it. Then, of course, the people a lot more local, and closer to the burning oil refinery, they're going to actually taste the smell, you know, they're going to taste it on their tongue, that burning, the chemicals, you know. You're going to be walking down the street going, man, I can taste it. Then, of course, if you're close enough to it, you're going to feel the heat on your skin. And then, you know, this is it. This makes it real now. Your senses are getting activated. You can taste it. You can feel it on your skin. You can see it. The war is now real. How can the war not be real? Look at this blazing fire in front of me. And of course, it will probably mess up all the local logistics and make supply chain issues, being that there's probably going to be a fuel issue, you know? See, again, you're now participating in a fake, phony war. You're forced to. So even if you don't believe, you know, even if there's somewhere in like Lviv, there was a guy like clearly knows what's going on, like this is a bullshit, he's going to still have to go and queue up at the petrol station to get his fuel because they've burnt down a oil refinery or fuel depot or whatever it is, whatever burns the brightest, you know. Of course, a fuel depot or oil refinery will burn for a long, long time as well, making sure, you know, time, it goes on for such a long time that's more and more, the more longer it goes on for, the burning of a building, the more people experience it. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, history repeats itself. London's burning. In World War II, the Nazis took over Kiev. That part of Russia, it was part of Russia at the time, because it was the breadbasket of Europe, and the Nazis dominating that the breadbasket made massive problems for everyone regarding food and stuff. And here we are now, fast forward to 2022, and the breadbasket of Europe is still Kiev, and guess what? We're now having problems. It's all just very, very, very strange to me. It's almost like the simulation can't think of any new ideas, or that we're just on a loop and they just have to keep repeating the same stories. They just slightly change around who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, who's going to win, who's going to lose. So will this just be a one-day thing? I don't know. I imagine a ghost army might start. Well, they've got like two or three more months of summer here in the UK to be going around doing arson attacks, burning stuff, and then calling it climate change. So yeah. But like I said, once you know it's an illusion, it doesn't have the same effect on you. The fear leaves your body, and you can just look at these things and be like, shit, man, I know what they're doing. They're burning stuff on purpose. The sun is not so strong that shit's just bursting into flames like that. It doesn't work like that. These scumbags, these psychopathic string pullers have got their troops. They're very elite, very devious, very well trained, faceless men to go around creating fires here, there, and everywhere. So that's it. Just detach yourself from it. Don't worry about it. It's all part of their plan. As I've said many times, and I know a lot of people struggle with this part, they don't want to kill us. They can't kill us. They can't declare war on us. All they can do is create the illusion, and then you consent to it via your own free will. All right. I think I'm going to end it here. We live in a twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.